Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm.
Hi, everybody. So I'm really excited that I'm here to talk my favorite topic in the world. We are talking animation, and 2016 has been a banner year, in my opinion, for animation. I think it's the best year since 2009, and it's just been certainly we've gotten just a huge crop of films this year, both indie and major. And I'm joined here by my friends Jim and Tony. And if
Hey.
you guys want to introduce yourself, starting with Jim.
Hi. Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I'm here, and I have a YouTube channel as well as on the Pizza Party podcast and all that stuff.
And then Tony.
And then for me, hello everybody. This is Tony, aka for my channel 22 Tiger Dude. I am the man with the tiger power, and I want to thank Rachel so much for bringing me here because animation is personally my favorite genre with movies. So to be on here to talk animation really makes me happy.
Sweet. I'm so glad. Would you guys agree with me about my statement about this year of animation, or?
Oh, absolutely. It's been an interesting year. It's been a surprising year. I'm actually really happy with just what this year I think will do for 2017 and beyond, if we're still around there and stuff.
Yeah, I think so too. I think both. I'm determined in this review to talk about the main films, but also talk about the indie films. And it's been a banner year in both categories, which is exciting. Yeah. We've had, as I was putting on my Twitter, that there were 17 films that were certified fresh, which is over 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I didn't see
many. It's really good.
I mean, although we got Norm of the North this year, which was really, really bad.
Yeah.
Everything else, I guess the bar was so low, everyone was like, let's just aim higher. I guess you didn't need to go that much higher, but with Norm of the North. But.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like 2016 is like, sorry, you guys, we didn't start off so well, but you know what? Here's Kung Fu Panda 3, here's Finding Dory, here's Zootopia, here's Kubo to make up for that shitty start.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, everybody's apologizing for Norm of the North. So I guess let's get that one out of the way.
Yeah.
So Norm of the North, in your opinion, is it as bad as people say it is? I'll go first for this. Yes.
Okay.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I saw Wildlife this year, and I personally thought that was way better than Norm of the North. I'm not saying neither one is great, but I just thought Norm of the North was so hard to watch. It wasn't funny. The story was so stupid. The performances were shrill. The characters were not consistent. Like one minute he'd be like all cool and swag and confident. Next minute he'd be all insecure and he's like twerking and there's like, and then it was really boring too. It was so bad.
Oh man!
What about you, Tony? Did you see Norm of the North?
Yes, I did, and believe it or not, I actually saw it a couple of days ago. Because with me being happy with most of the animated films this year, I've just been so unmotivated to watch Norm of the North. But then after doing this podcast, I'm like, okay, I have to pull through this movie. So one, I could get out of the way, and two, so I could talk about it. I saw it a couple of days ago, and yeah, it's as bad as everyone says it is. This is the worst animated film of the year. It's even worse than Ice Age Collision Course, which I'll know we'll get to more later on. But yeah, I was utterly speechless. Like, I could not believe what I was watching. It's not funny at all. And if I did laugh maybe a couple of times, it's just because of how unintentionally funny a couple of
What?
Oh, we crashed. Tony got crashed.
Is he okay?
Here.
Or should I talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead. And
okay.
You hear a twerking polar
bear. Oh, there
he
is.
Oh, do you guys see me?
Sorry, we lost you for a second.
You came back on twerking polar bear.
Okay. Yeah. It's not funny at all. Just like we used to right now, Rachel. It's not funny at all. The writing was really bad. And you know, when you just describe to someone, you want to see this movie about a twerking polar bear voiced by Rob Schneider, you already know that's a bad sign from the start right there. But the biggest crime of this movie was how boring it was. Like 45 minutes into this movie, I wanted to fall asleep because I was literally bored to tears watching this movie. Like I didn't really get anything out of this film. And it was even so dumb that I had to unintentionally laugh at a couple of parts because I'm all like, I can't believe I'm watching this movie.
You're like, this is awkward. No one's laughing.
You're like, I better laugh at myself because there's nothing to laugh at.
Yeah, it's like there's a great Roger Ebert review where he's like, I guarantee you staring at a blank wall would be preferable to watching this film. And
North of North was that movie.
I'm like, yes, my thoughts, my creativity is better. And then, like, people are like, oh, it only had an $18 million budget. That's baloney. I mean, the Tinkerbell movies don't have very big budget. There's lots of movies that come up with a lot more creative story and a lot more creative. I mean, a lot of these indies that we're going to talk about have lower budgets than that, and they're great. So I don't think that's an excuse.
It was just
even some of the straight to DVD Disney movies are better than Norm of the North.
No, it was just so abysmally horrible. It was just like shocking how bad. I mean, I knew when it was coming. I was like, this is like Food Fight level, and I would put it up there with Food Fight. It is as bad. It deserves Food Fight's still worse.
Yeah.
If you need another bad movie to watch after Food Fight, after your soul's been broken, it's there to break it some more. So you have that for you.
Yeah. Let's see. We did get some great. I have this chat room open. I don't know if you said that, but see, Dipper723 says Norm of the North was meant to be direct to video, so it's easy to pretend it never existed. So there you go. So
you'll live a better life not knowing it existed.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, it was really, really bad. I said in my review that I thought that Rob Schneider was the best part in the movie, and that's a problem. If Rob Schneider is the best part of your movie.
I have a hard time thinking of the best part. You're nicer than me, I think.
All right, so let's move on to much happier things. So next thing we had was Kung Fu Panda 3, and I happen to feel that this is underrated. I really liked it a lot, and I went into it thinking it was going to be terrible. I hated all the trailers, and it was just so pretty. I really loved the animation. I think Jennifer Yu Nelson did a great job with this. It definitely exceeded my expectations, and I thought that what it did was so well was it took the humor of the first movie and the action of the second movie and really combined them together for me. And just the way they combined the 2D in there, and I really loved the adoption message. I thought was really sweet and was nice to see. And so I really liked it. What about you, Jim? What did you think of Kung Fu Panda?
I love the Kung Fu Panda movies, and I actually rewatched them all right before 3, and I kind of fell back in love with them because they're so well directed. In that what's her name? What was her name? Who directed?
Jennifer Yu Nelson.
Yeah, she's the has the highest grossing film directed by an Asian woman, I believe.
Oh, interesting.
I believe that. I might be messing that up somehow, but. A 2 was so well directed. I think it might be my least favorite in the franchise, but I still think it's really, really good, and I was really happy with it. It doesn't do as much interesting camera work as 1 and 2, but it's still like such a beautiful movie. And in comparing, I think it's so much better. I really didn't like Trolls, but I thought it was so much better than Trolls on a just production level. It was just really showed DreamWorks. Everyone underestimates them, but when they really put their mind to it, they can do really beautiful, amazing things like the How to Train Your Dragon movies. And the Kung Fu Panda movies don't get the, especially 2, and what she did with the camera in that second one is really amazing, and there's not a lot of animation movies that can do that. And I think she, although didn't reach to the height she did in 2, still, it's still just an amazing thing to watch, and I was really happy to get to experience that on the big screen. It was just it was beautiful.
I think a lot of with Kung Fu Panda 3, a lot of it is what you want out of a movie. Like if you want a total comedy, then you're going to like the first one the best. If you like a Kung Fu movie, then you're going to like the second one best. But for me, I liked this merging of the two that I thought was really cool. And so for me, I really, and I liked seeing Poe become a teacher, that instead of just sort of the math, instead of becoming the student, he becomes the teacher.
Good, like, full circle franchise moment, as you say.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think of it, Tony?
I liked Kung Fu Panda 3. I thought it was just a very well told, very nice family film. It wasn't as dark as I thought 2 was, because one of the things I loved about 2 is how surprisingly dark and deep it was. Mm-hmm. And 3 certainly had some of those moments, but I felt like it didn't really go as far as 2 did. But even with that said, I still did like the third film. It still carried on the theme of family and, the importance of family and life. The animation, just somehow the animation in these movies just seem to get better and better. Like, it's just some of DreamWorks' best work when it comes to animation. And like what you said, it's nice to see Poe become more of the teacher this time around, rather than, he's still learning, but he's now learning what it's like to become a teacher, and that was really refreshing. And I did really like the antagonist voiced by J.K. Simmons. I thought he added a lot to the antagonist. Like, he had his humor, but he's also a little intimidating when he needs to be. So I thought overall, as far as third installments go, it was very satisfying. It is a very worthy installment to the other 2. I do think the first 2, in my opinion, are better films, but I do think this one was still like a very solid animated movie.
Yeah. I think so. We have got some great comments on this. Justin Brown says, Kung Fu Panda 3 is the funniest of the series, but 2 was the best. And then Mahali Kobola says, Kung Fu Panda 3, in my opinion, had way too much humor. The second film balanced humor and drama much better. Visuals were amazing, though. And then Dipper723 says, controversial opinion, I thought Kung Fu Panda 3 was better written story and constructed film than Kubo. So there you go.
Wow.
A lot of opinions there. That's great. Yeah. And
I can understand those opinions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all right. We'll keep moving. We got a ton of movies to cover. So, sorry if we don't spend too much time on everyone. So, the next one I just wanted to briefly mention is Boy and the Beast. This is by animator Mamoru Hosoda. Mm-hmm. This was actually my introduction to Hosoda. And now I've since gone back and watched some of his other films, and he is just great, beautiful filmmaker. And I really liked this. I think that the animation is stunning, and I think the core story is a good one. It's sort of a Karate Kid kind of a story, but with a little bit of a furry element. It was funny. I saw Boy and the Beast, and I saw Zootopia the same weekend. So,
oh yeah, that was the same weekend.
And I randomly I went in because Utah actually has, I guess with Sundance, it has a somewhat thriving indie kind of movie scene. Mm-hmm. And I went to the theater, and it must have been some kind of anime club, because it was packed and people were super into it, which is very infectious. And so I really enjoyed the experience. And the ending doesn't quite work. The character changes, that it doesn't. It comes out of the blue, kind of, and it doesn't quite work. But I still really enjoyed it. Did either of you get to see this?
I did. I saw it, and it was also my introduction to Hosoda as well. But I think I still really like The Girl Who Leapt Through Time is probably my favorite. I saw that and reviewed it after I had seen Boy and the Beast. It was good. I don't know if I felt he was as promising after watching Boy and the Beast, because Girl Who Leapt Through Time, after I watched that, I'm like, oh my god, this guy's so cool. And I would actually recommend, that would be the one film I think that maybe would be the first film to get into. It was just that this film was promoted so heavily. I of course wanted to see it, so I didn't do it the right way. But I still really liked it. I like the relationship between him and I don't remember this that well, so him and the bear guy, and and I liked what it was saying about maturity and things like that. But there are a lot of elements that I think story-wise didn't pay off as well as I think they wanted it to.
Like him and his dad, that didn't really pay off, and the relationship with the girl, that didn't really pay off. But it's so pretty.
Or what was the human who then kills someone or something at the end? That kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, kind of the villain at the end didn't really work.
I mean, if you want to see this, just see Grow Up Through Time first, and then see this. I know he did something else. I didn't see that. And
my favorite of his is called Summer Wars. It's so creative and so different, and I just found it wonderful. So I recommend that.
I want to see that one. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's really good. I can't wait till you do it and you can do one of your reviews on it. I think you'll really have a lot to say.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, did you see this by chance, Tony?
Unfortunately, I didn't. Yeah. Normally, when it comes to these anime movies, for some reason, like my city will get all these independent movies. When it comes to these anime movies, they never really come to my area. So I'm gonna have to probably wait until maybe Netflix to see this movie, because I have heard about this movie like from a couple of YouTubers, and after watching the reviews, I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. I would like to check that out.
Yeah, so but definitely check out the other ones of Osada first, and don't do what Jim and I did.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
Okay. So we do have some comments on this. That Paleo Stino is on the chat, and he says, "This is not Hosada's strongest work, but The Girl Who Leapt Through Time and Wolf Children are his best. Summer Wars is good too, but I need to rewatch it."
Oh yeah, Wolf Children. I heard a lot of good things about.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen Wolf Children, so I need to see that one. But I want to. I've heard that one's really, really good, and it's just neat. I mean, because I think there was a worry for me that with the loss of Studio Ghibli, that we'd see a loss of anime or something. But now with Your Name and some of these other films that we've gotten this year, it's reassuring to see. Plus the fact that Hayao Miyazaki is coming out of retirement. Which is very exciting.
I did hear about that.
He's like Cher. He just announces he's retiring every 5 years.
That's one thing that I think is really cool, though. Like, even though Studio Ghibli is it's shut down, they're still carrying on they're carrying on the Japanese anime films, which I think is great, especially for those that are a huge lover of those kind of movies.
Yeah. We got some comments. We'll be talking about Your Name coming up. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay. All right. Well, let's start talking about why Jim is getting. The next one that came out is the Ratchet. The next one we're talking about is Ratchet and Clank.
Oh yes.
And so this is directed by Kevin Monroe, and I didn't hate this movie. I'll just be honest. I had fun with it. I thought it was kind of like it felt like a Saturday morning cartoon, kind of, to me. I thought it was an okay little space movie for kids. I don't know. I didn't hate it. And I thought that it would get 30-40% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. But then when I came and everybody was just like, this is the worst thing ever. It's like, oh, okay. I liked it. It's not a masterpiece, but I had fun with it.
I kind of agree with you. I don't know. You're probably more positive on it, but I wasn't so angry about it.
Yeah, I guess I don't play the game, so maybe that's part of it.
I've never played it. I don't really play video games that much, but I never played it. But it felt more like, to me, if I'm remembering this correctly, I felt like it was like when you used to watch Saturday morning cartoons, like you'd watch the whole morning, whether you liked them all or not. And it felt like a show that was between two shows I liked that I was fine with. I had fun with it. But if that show got canceled or wasn't on, I'd be a little bummed, but I'd get over it quickly, kind of thing. And it was fine. I don't know the characters that well, so I think a lot of people who played the game were happy with it, but I don't think it was that video game movie that's going to it definitely was not one that was going to transcend. And if you're a normal audience member and you're like, what's Ratchet and Clank, and you saw it, you'd be like, and I don't think that was what they wanted from it. So yeah,
I mean, it's not very memorable, but I personally found it a lot less obnoxious than, say, The Nut Job or Strange Magic, or I don't know. I think it's a lot better than those kind of movies.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, and a lot better made as well.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think of? Do you see Ratchet and Clank, Tony?
Yeah, I saw the movie about like just a month ago, so it hasn't been that long ago since I've seen this movie. And I actually have played the games, not the PS2 games, unfortunately, but I have played like just the PS3 games of Ratchet and Clank. And I will say, like, I'm pretty much on the same. I pretty much have the same opinion as you guys. I just thought it was a decent little animated film. Like, it was harmless. It wasn't offensive or anything. I wasn't like, oh my goodness, like that. But I was like, it's fun and all that. It's not a very memorable animated film, but I think as far as what they try to do with this film, I think they pretty much did their job well. And it is better than, in my opinion, most video game movies that have come out. I'll say that about this film at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bar isn't high there, but yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh yeah. And my favorite thing about this movie is Ratchet and Clank's friendship. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I thought it was nice. I not a masterpiece, but I would give it like I'd give it like a C. I thought it was okay. So let's see. Paleo Studio says, I started playing the original game after seeing the movie. The game seems to have much better humor than the movie. If anything, just watch these cut scenes from the game on YouTube, and you'll get a funnier movie that way. So, fair enough. Fair enough.
Paleo.
I did hear the PS4 game is basically the movie.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, they used a lot of the same. That's why it looks so good on such a small budget.
Oh yeah.
And so, anyway, all right. Well, okay, so now this is a big one we'll probably talk for longer on. Next up was Zootopia, and this had 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. It made $1 billion on a $150 million budget, and I love it. I think it's great. Yeah. And I admit it, after I've seen it now a lot of times, that the metaphor does fall apart a little bit when you think about it too long. But I look at it as, I think that all metaphors, like if you overthink like Tortoise and the Hare or the Ugly Duckling or whatever it is, a fable for kids to teach them a lesson, it kind of starts to fall apart. Like, why didn't any of the other ducks know that he was a swan? Like you start to kind of.
Well, with Zootopia, I think it was just that the idea of the prey and the predator. And I guess what they're trying to say is the predators are basically how America or most people would be considered supposed to be metaphorically minorities. And although I think Zootopia's heart is in the right place, like it really is, there's not a question of that. The idea of making that group predators gets into all sorts of territory I know. Is creepy. But I really love Zootopia. I think it's actually a really good movie for kids, and I think it makes them at least get them to think about something like that. And in some ways, I don't agree entirely with what it's saying, but I think it's kind of like the ends justify the means. But in the means that it justifies, it like soars in it. It's such an entertaining movie.
Yeah.
I love the characters. Judy Hopps is like one of my favorite characters of this year. It might be my favorite Hollywood movie of 2016, just because anytime I watch it, I seem to, even though the first time I watched it, I was like, this metaphor is falling apart, but other times I watch it, I just kind of fall in love with how good it is at being a big studio movie, which I don't think any studio movie was as surprising, because I didn't walk into the Bunny Detective movie thinking I was going to get an argument about racial relations in America. That was was not prepared for that. So I think that was and it was cool, and I love that surprise about it. So.
Yeah, it took me I admit it took me 3 times, and the third time I was like, oh yeah, oh okay.
Yeah. When it hits you, you're like, oh,
shoot, you're like, darn it, they almost had it. But I don't know, I just feel like I feel like it's a fable for kids to teach them a lesson, and then it has all this other stuff on top of it, like you were saying, that make it so delightful. I love Judy Hopps as a character. I love sort of the bullying message that it gives, that's really nice. I love the relationship between Nick and Judy, and it's also super funny, and it's beautiful. I actually bought the art book for this, and like the amount of like detail that they went into like to put labels on. You can tell they have a Simpsons background, because one thing that Simpsons is great on is that in the shot there'll be like a background joke and the primary joke, and it's one of the great things in Zootopia is that like labels on vending machines or labels at the stores or whatever are all kind of background jokes. Whether it's the DVDs on the thing or. And so that makes it really fun. And, it's also got sort of this whole like crime noir kind of feel to it, and great atmosphere in different scenes. And so I don't know, I guess I'm willing to kind of forgive the problems, but I love it. But I don't know. What do you think of Zootopia, Tony?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just like what you guys thought. I think it's a wonderful animated film, and I was already excited for this film going into it. But the one thing, like you guys said, I wasn't expecting them to go so deep into racial stereotypes and like how us as a society comes together, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what race we are, we could come together as a society. And I was all like, wow. I was just expecting this to be a really fun and very entertaining Disney animated film, but I wasn't expecting such a thought-provoking movie. And I mean that in a very great way, to be honest. Like, I thought they handled those aspects very well. And I really just like the balance that it had for the kids and the adults. Like, there's something that the kids can laugh at, but then there's those jokes that's going to go way over the kids' heads that the adults can definitely laugh at. It's very well directed. Yeah. The animation, it's a cliche to say this at this point for a Disney animated film, but it's absolutely beautiful. Like, what else is there to say? But definitely the best thing is Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde's relationship. I just liked how their little relationship was growing as the film was going on. And, especially once you learn about Nick Wilde's backstory, you start to feel more sympathy for them. So I just really admired the amount of depth, the amount of messages that were put into Zootopia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I did too. And also a nice message too about never giving up, that if you're smaller, if you're different, keep going. Like, the race isn't the only message in the movie.
No, yeah.
Which is nice.
Oh, yeah.
And I personally think it's the strongest non-musical from Disney since 101 Dalmatians. I think it's better than, I personally am not as high in Wreck-It Ralph as the average person, but I think it's better than Wreck-It Ralph. I think it's better than Big Hero 6. I think it's better than Emperor's New Groove or I don't know. Go back.
Wow, that's a big claim.
I know.
I'm trying to. I'm like, when you said it, I was like, huh. I'm like kind of on board, but I'd have to look at a filmography.
Maybe Lilo and Stitch.
Like, Lilo and Stitch and Emperor's New Groove are kind of fighting me on that, but and wow, that's a big claim.
I know.
I've
thought about it all year.
Because when you said non-musical, I'm like, that does disqualify like the entire Disney Renaissance. So that's gone. And
most better than Rescuers Down Under, I think.
I mean, wow.
You made Jim speechless, Rachel.
Yeah, it's definitely better than Black Cauldron.
Yes.
But I don't think anyone. There's probably one person like, now I'm turning this off. But Black
controversial opinions.
Black Cauldron fan 85 is really upset. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't want to sign off on it, but I'm like, you're getting me thinking that way. It's close to it, at least.
Yeah.
Because when you say non-musical, that's interesting. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. I think Lilo and Stitch is probably the next best. A lot of people love Treasure Planet, but I'm not as high on that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just not as high on their non-musicals, which is very true, actually.
Yeah,
okay.
Those aren't as good as Zootopia. Anyway, moving on.
All right. Yeah. So I get it. People have issues, but I think that I think the average 99% of kids are going to watch it. And I mean, not that I ever think that things should just be made like, oh, make it dumb enough for kids. I hate that attitude. But I do think a movie can be carefully made for kids, and that's a good thing. And I do think in this case the message was made for kids, and I think that it works for them. I do. I don't think that many kids are going to be sitting down and being like, wait, am I a predator, Mom? No, I don't think so.
And the great thing about this film is that once those kids grow older, you know, when they look back at this movie, they'll be all like, oh, yeah, I missed that when I was a kid.
Yeah. Or you'd be surprised how it affects you, because I grew up with X-Men comics, and it made me look at racism in so much of a different way, because I was like, why would you when you look at the X-Men and they call them muties, and they had, you know, a racial slur for mutants, and well, I guess it's not a genetic slur or something. Anyway, but it kind of like, you could say it like is liberally conditioning you, but I think it also like makes you think about these things in a different way. And I think there's probably maybe we'll have a lot more tolerant kids because of Zootopia, because I guarantee you there's not one little kid who didn't see the Bunny Detective movie. I like calling it that.
So the chat room is going crazy about my claim of the
That was controversial.
I know.
I didn't see that coming. I'm like laughing right now because I'm reading through the chat right
now. All right. Well, let's talk about an indie. Let's talk about April in the Extraordinary World, and this was directed by Christian Desmarais and Frank Kinsey. Sorry.
Yeah, you're doing better than I probably did.
It's French. What do I know about it? So this is by the same people who did Persepolis. And yes. And it is, I loved this movie. I thought this was great. This was it's a really cool movie for those of you who aren't aware of this film. It is based on a graphic novel by Tardis, I think his name is. And it is, I actually have the poster right there. And it is about a world of steampunk. And most steampunk movies are terrible, like Wild Wild West and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and movies like that are really bad. But this case, they actually give you what a world of steam would be like. It's dirty, it's gritty, it feels cold, and the animation is so great. And you have this lead character named April, who is trying to find her parents, who all the scientists start getting rounded up. And I have to say about this movie, there's a kind of a reveal that you either kind of go with or you think is super weird and you don't like. And I won't spoil it for you, but I went with it. I really liked it. I thought it was a very, very entertaining, different, unusual, weird film, and I like that sometimes because I get tired of the same old. And so I don't know. I know you saw it, Jim. What did you think of?
I liked it a lot. The steampunk thing, when your descriptions are like reminding me every time of seeing it. But the steampunk, most of the steampunk stuff, it's like very stylistic, but there's never really something to back it up in those films you mentioned. And in this, the reason they're in steam, and I think it takes place in current time, in alternate history, where steam, we never evolved from steam, basically. I think I'm getting this right.
It's like in the, I think it's set in
the 60s? Or
60s, yeah. 60s.
Yeah, but it's like an alternate 60s.
Yeah, because all the scientists were rounded up.
Yeah, all this. So, like, we couldn't move past steam. So it's interesting. It kind of reminded me a lot of Tintin and Hergé, which in France is like a really big thing. Tintin never really... It's big here, but not at all like what it is in Europe. And that kind of more for adventure than character in a lot of ways. And I like that about April. I think it's fun. It's kind of weird to not have it be as much about her. I think it was just like a really enjoyable, as I remember, animated adventure movie is, especially for like, if you're for like, I think this would be appropriate for like little girls, as I recall. It's very actually
there's a few scary parts, but I took...
Well, maybe like 10.
Yeah, I
years
think
old.
so. Like,
Okay.
I took my friend and her little girl, and I
Mhm.
was so impressed with her. I don't know how old she is, if she's 8 or 9 or something like that. Anyway, but I was nervous because it turned out that it was subtitled, and I'm like, oh, is she gonna? Because it goes pretty fast, and I didn't know if she'd
yeah.
like the subtitles, but she did great, and she really liked it. So
Oh.
I know. I was like, I'm very impressed with you.
No, props to her. But just because we're saying this is in French, the one thing about this, and I think Long Way North as well, they're very like, they should probably be playing in an AMC or a big mainstream theater. They're that kind of a movie. So if you're like wondering about this film and you want to see a big kind of animated adventure and you're used to mainstream films, this is actually a perfect way to get into French animation.
I so agree. Like, this is I was going to ask you this, Jim, like, why do you think that European films have had such a hard time getting any kind of footing in the U.S.? Because, I mean, the anime has done pretty well, has done pretty good, but you have the great movies. Even the Aardman movies just do so bad here.
Yeah.
And they just, I don't know what it is, whether it's even something like Shaun of the Sheep is terrible. Like, you had
wait, you called it Shaun? I do that too. No, it's Shaun the Sheep because you're thinking
Shaun the Sheep.
Shaun
Shaun the Sheep.
So that's, no, everybody. I love that mistake. Anyway, sorry, I didn't
Shaun
mean
the
to
Sheep.
embarrass
It's
you.
so bad. Shaun the Sheep made $18 million in its whole run.
Yeah, and it's a great movie. No,
and it's a great movie.
I mean,
it
in Shaun the Sheep's example, I don't know why, because that wasn't a lot of screens. It came out at a really bad time, and it was a movie of a property that America doesn't really know as well. But in terms of April in the Extraordinary World, I think if that had enough money behind it and you put it out on a weekend that there wasn't a lot of competition, I think if April in the Extraordinary World had made $18 million and they hadn't put a ton, they did minimal promotion and got some good voice actors, I think it could have done well. But it's also like people aren't as into pushing 2D, and we have this weird foreign film thing. I won't go too crazy with this, but we have this weird foreign film thing where if it's not super arty, then the art theaters aren't going to be so into it. But if you're too mainstream, the mainstream audiences are like, yeah, but you're like all French, and that's weird. So it's like you're kind of like, if you're a movie like April, you're kind of like stuck in this little box, and it's hard to kind of figure out where to go because there's not an anime audience, there's not the indie audience that you'd think there'd be. So sadly, April gets kind of like dropped in the middle of everything, which I don't think is cool.
Yeah.
I think it could be different because seriously, I think this film is very accessible. Like, it's not just because a film is in French doesn't mean, they're going to just talk in silence for 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it just has that stigma of, oh, this is going to be boring. But April in the Extraordinary World is not boring. In my opinion.
No, it's very exciting, actually.
Yeah, boring. I have learned that boring, even more so than beauty, is in the eye of the beholder. But to me, it was not boring.
Yeah.
It was really cool. So anyway, okay, moving on. So the next movie we'll talk about is the Angry Birds movie. Just what we all were dying for, the Angry Birds movie.
Yes.
The best animated movie of this year.
That's right. No. Yeah, it's so interesting because I did a Blu-ray review of this on rotoscopers.com, and the Blu-ray is like stacked with special features. Like, I've never seen a Blu-ray. It has like a craft activity, and I'm like, I wonder if they know something about their movie. Like, there's like a music video. I mean, it is really stacked.
Wow.
But anyway, so it's just kind of funny. And so the thing, I actually thought the animation was pretty good. I thought it had some okay jokes. I didn't think it was terrible. But I had to me, the biggest problem of this was the message was so odd, and a lot of the humor doesn't work. And the message, at least that I took away from this movie, was that being angry is better, and you should learn to be angry because happy people are stupid.
I mean, that is similar to what my problem was with Trolls, but in a reverse way. But I think
because he has to teach all of the happy birds to be angry in order for them to defeat the pigs.
I think it's been a while since I've seen this one, but as I recall, I think it was more that he was being cynical and questioning them rather than just flat out being angry, as I recall. But I didn't. The more thing I took away from it is that this studio, who had never made an animated film, whatever they are, who made the game and stuff. I think it's fairly impressively made for a studio that
I
they
agree.
poured all their money. Well, like while I was watching, I was like, hey, whoa, there was like some cool animation in it. I didn't love it. I sort of forget it at this point. But I do remember, I think Trolls did, your reaction to Angry Birds is like my reaction to Trolls, I think. So, which is kind of interesting.
I don't know. What do you think of Angry Birds, Tony?
This movie was fine for me. Like, I didn't hate sitting through Angry Birds, but it wasn't really the best year. Like, for the first 2 acts, I wasn't hating it, but I was just bored watching it. And at the same time, it was just really annoying. Like, I got annoyed with a lot of the jokes. I wasn't even laughing that much. I think I maybe laughed only maybe 3 or 4 times in the first 2 acts. But then all of a sudden, the 3rd act came, and I all of a sudden was having a lot of fun with the movie. So I probably didn't rate it as low because, you know, on my channel, I use a 4-star rating. I was going to go like 2 out of 4 stars. But because of that final act, I was like, okay, I'll push it to 2.5 because of that final act. But before that final act, where it actually felt like the game, because I actually am a huge fan of the Angry Bird mobile games. Like, I am addicted to that app. So it was like watching the mobile app game, but on the big screen. Like, you know, when they have to take care of that mission in the final act, the way the birds would sling into the pig village. Like, I just thought all that was a lot of fun.
It was pretty clever how they worked in the game, I thought, with the slingshots and stuff. It was pretty clever. But, oh my gosh, it felt like they were at that hoedown so long. Like, why are they still dancing?
What was the point of that?
It was like, we get it. Yeah, Blake Shelton. Let's move on. It was so long to me.
That was the first time I heard a Blake Shelton song, and I was like, so, like, he's a famous person for this music? I just remember thinking that. I was like, I feel like he's more famous for that show that I never watch. But, like, this is a song that they play on the radio. I was like, that was astonishing to me. I was like, so he makes popular music.
They did, like, multiple verses. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, so long.
I was just like, so people listen to multiple verses? It was very confusing to me.
Also for a movie called Angry Birds, the birds really weren't that angry in the movie.
But just the one. See, I thought going into it that it would be like a Grinch story. You know, that like the angry bird Red would learn to be happy, like in Grinch or Scrooge or something like that. But instead, it was like it's as if the Who's learned to be more like the Grinch. Like, that's what I felt after it. I'm like, wait, what? It's like, come live with us and have, you know, like, I don't know. I just thought that was so odd.
Oh, I will say before I continue, my favorite character was Sean Penn's character, where he does.
That was so weird. Sean Penn, like, he never does any big movies, and he's like, I'll do Angry Birds, and I'll do.
Yeah, that was so weird.
I was just like, when I saw the opening, I was just like, even though I knew it, I was like, wait, so this is real. He's really.
You know, it's gotta suck to be a voice actor when like they can't even get the.
Yeah.
It's like, shoot. But yeah, I liked. Who did I like? Well, I did think also that the eagle, that whole storyline was a complete waste. They should have just cut that all out.
Yeah, no,
that wasn't funny. It's too long. But I did think it had some funny moments. I liked the anime. I like those little birds. Those are cute.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're cute. And I think if I was a kid, I would like it. But I'm not, so.
Yeah.
It does kind of bum me out that it made so much money. I feel like animation in 2017 is just like there to punish me, because I see all the animated films.
Wow.
And the only one I'm really looking forward to is the Lego Batman movie and to Coco and Cars 3 a little bit, I guess. But
don't fall for the trick of that trailer. I'm not falling for this trick. Pixar getting everyone to see Cars 3. Every time I see people
it worked. it worked, I think.
Oh, it's worked so well because like
it was brilliant.
If I came up to someone a day before and go, "You're going to see Cars 3," and they're going to be like, "Why are you talking to me?" But then they'd go, "No, I'm not seeing Cars 3." And then the trailer comes out and they go, "I don't know, Cars 3 might be the dark one." And I'm like, "What? Are you for real?"
It's like Disney just hired Zack Snyder to come in, direct the trailer, and he just got his paycheck.
I mean,
yeah, that's really true.
that's kind of. I was just like, this is like the Cars 3 trailer is unreal. I'm just like, whoever is head of marketing, I'm sure they're like, dude, you can have the rest of the year off because people are actually talking about Cars 3. Just amazing.
I know. I mean, next year we're getting the Emoji Movie, Boss Baby, Captain Underpants, and
Despicable Me 3.
Despicable Me 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the list goes on. I'm excited for My Little Pony, I guess.
Oh, that's next year?
I do like, yeah, that's next year.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, anyway, that's a tangent. But I just feel like, oh, we're getting the Nut Job, too. I'm like,
oh, no. And it's coming out in May.
I'm like, can I make a deal with my fans? Maybe I won't have to see all these horrible movies. Can we swap? Okay. So moving on. So let's talk about Finding Dory.
Yes.
Okay. So this got a 94%. Of course, Andrew Stanton returned, and I don't think even Pixar expected this to be as big as it was. I mean, holy cow! I don't think in their wildest dreams they thought this would be the biggest movie of the year.
Oh, I think they thought.
Really?
I think they knew because it's. Not only is it it was a huge hit. It was a big hit of the original. Sorry. The original was a bigger hit than anyone expected. It's actually the best-selling DVD ever.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like ever. It was a huge DVD success. So
you know, speaking of did you know that the Cars merchandise sells $10 billion a year?
I've heard that. Yeah.
Almost as much as Star Wars. That shocked me. I didn't know it was
Kids like cars. I don't know.
Holy cow. But
I also wouldn't be surprised if it's because of Ellen DeGeneres promoting it, because I know ever since they announced Finding Dory, Ellen DeGeneres would promote Finding Dory on her show a lot.
I mean, I think they thought it would do well, but more like what Moana has been doing. I don't think they thought it was going to be as big as Captain America.
I mean, I was
maybe
surprised because I don't think it was their strongest. I think it was I don't know. It wasn't a movie I remember that well personally.
Mm-hmm.
Not to crap on anybody's day or anything, but I mean I was fine with it, but I was like after Inside Out, I was like, oh, all right, guys, that's cool, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you guys think of it?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a sweet little movie. I thought it had some weird subversive parts to it that I kind of liked. Because.
Wait, where?
Well, just the fact that this place isn't really caring for them. It's a rehabilitation center, and I thought it was sort of weird that they have the voice of the computer in WALL-E. If you're a Pixar theorist, that was sort of strange, and because they got Sigourney Weaver in there, and she's like. That was weird, and also the fact that Hank so wants to leave. I thought that was weird, and so there were just some sort of subversive elements, and I thought it was super funny at the end. That made me really laugh, and I thought it had a nice little message, Baby Dory. That was super cute, and everything's so polluted around there, which was weird, and so I don't know. There's just some weird elements that I thought was But yeah, it's not the greatest movie ever, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice little movie. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about it, Tony?
Oh, okay. I actually really loved this movie. I thought it was refreshing because it's even though it takes place after Finding Nemo, it's not really continuing anything. It's just a whole new story set in the Finding Nemo world, just starring Dory this time around. And I thought it was kind of cool that they did it that way. They didn't really rely too much on the original's connections. Just here and there they would, but it's for the most part, it was their own story. And I was really invested with Dory because Finding Nemo is one of my favorite animated movies of all time. And obviously Finding Dory isn't up in that level, and I wasn't expecting it to. But, I wasn't sure how Dory would work as a main character because in Finding Nemo, she was so great as just being that nice, bumbly, goofy supporting character. But then when you see Finding Dory, you kind of see Dory in a different point of view than you do in Finding Nemo. She has more depth to her. She has an entire backstory we didn't know about her in Finding Nemo. And because of that, she now, after seeing Finding Dory, I see her more as that bumbling, supporting character. There was a lot that they went with her story that I really liked. And I liked the new characters, especially like with Hank. I really liked him. He was making me laugh a lot. And I thought Marlin and Nemo, their subplot was simple, but I found a lot of funny moments in their subplot. And, there's some nice little heartwarming moments into the film. And I would even get a little bit misty-eyed. I would say, like, one moment towards the end, which I won't spoil, but that one's all like, okay, you're almost making me cry, movie. Don't get me there yet.
Of course, it's Pixar. Of course.
Yeah,
I kind of liked the fact that as opposed to her like meeting one person and that person taking her all the way through to the end, like in the original, that she would meet one person and that person would help for a little bit, and then she would meet another person, whether it was the beluga whale who was hilarious, and the I forget the anyway, and then she'd go on and I don't know, I thought that was kind of fun. I liked it. I liked Becky and Gerard. They were hilarious.
Oh, the sea lions, I love them too.
And Becky, that little bird.
I did like the sea lions. Those were by two of the guys from The Wire, I believe.
Yeah. That was funny. Well, and just that dumb sea lion, I thought he was funny.
Oh,
I guess I like stupid characters like that.
2016 seems to be the year for some very dumb characters.
Yeah. I don't know. So what you were more, sounds like more lukewarm on this, Jim?
Yeah, I'm just not. I don't know. I'm fine with it. I just wasn't as, like, with the car thing at the end, I was like, it felt a little too sequel-y for me. And it's not a Pixar I'm probably personally going to own, whereas, like, Inside Out, and even, like, I think I like Good Dinosaur more than...
Me too! I'm a Good Dinosaur apologist as well.
Oh, I support Good Dinosaur as well.
Good Dinosaur apologist!
It's such an underrated Pixar movie.
Yeah, I've heard, and I kind of said this. Maybe my reviewer said it somewhere or something. I don't know, but that I think Good Dinosaur will be one of those movies in 20 years, whatever BuzzFeed is or whatever. There'll be like 10 reasons The Good Dinosaur is an underrated classic. Like, it's going to be one of those where, like, no one at this time who's an adult really got it, but I've heard kids will just watch it on a loop for days. So I think we'll be hearing about The Good Dinosaur. It just, the kids who are into it aren't old enough for us to listen to it this point.
Yeah.
We will hear about it.
I remember making, I think it was Paleo in his video where he was on Jungle Book, where he was like, why are you all so amazed by the animation in this and you hated Good Dinosaur? Like, I totally agree with him there. Like, why were we all so stunned when they had just done it like 6 months before? Yeah. And I don't know. I thought it had a Dumbo quality to it. I thought it had an old-fashioned Disney feel to it.
You mean Good Dinosaur?
Good Dinosaur.
Yeah. No, it definitely did. And it had, I mean, it does do the one, this is like, we're including Good Dinosaur, I guess, but for 2015. But the thing about Good Dinosaur is it takes the thing that every dinosaur movie, Disney's Dinosaur and Land Before Time do, where it's like the dinosaur road movie thing. And I know that genre's been done to death by the time Good Dinosaur comes along, but Good Dinosaur is still really good at doing that. It's like a good kind of Western. It is another alternate history type of movie. And I know that was too weird for most people. But, I mean, I had a good time with it. I think the Good Dinosaur's biggest problem was that it came out against Inside Out. And although I don't think that hurt Moana as much as with Zootopia, I think it did hurt Good Dinosaur. Maybe they should have put out Good Dinosaur. I mean, they and Star Wars ate it up as well. So it was just like Good Dinosaur, it didn't work out. I mean, it didn't work out for it, and it's kind of sad. But
and they spent way too much money on it. It was cost them $200 million to make, and so
a lot of that's development costs. Like development costs, I'm not going to get. We need to move on, but a lot of that were costs before they finished the movie. We saw a lot of those costs were not in that movie.
Yeah.
basically.
Well,
It
we've
just
got
had the
lots
intro.
of good dinosaur apologists in the chat room, which makes me very happy.
That's the
Yay.
weirdest thing I've ever heard. Good
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. moving on.
Okay, yeah, we do have a lot to cover, so let's
Yeah.
move on. Okay, so next one is Secret Life of Pets. This got 74% on Rotten Tomatoes and is from the Despicable Me team, Chris Renaud and Yaro Chene over there in Illumination. And I get the critiques of this movie. I guess I'm not somebody that's like super bothered by a repeat storyline. You know, if it's something I've seen before, I don't really care if they execute it well. And I thought this was decently executed. It definitely they try to get like emotion with like his former owner, and they miss a lot of opportunities that they could have had. And I didn't think the gang really worked. I thought that was just weird. I didn't like it.
It was like a weird motley crew that never developed.
It was just kind of annoying and like I don't know, weird. But overall, I thought it was okay. I was entertained by it enough.
I was surprised how I'm not a big Illumination fan. It might be my favorite Illumination. Yeah, it's like no one's a huge fan, but it was one I liked, and they were good at kind of doing this kind of very mainstream, kind of passable Secret Life of Pets movie. And it was, I had a good time watching it. I probably will never see it again. I like that I will say the one thing I remembered about it is I don't see a lot of movies that cast a bunch of famous actors and have them actually well cast. Like most of the time it's just like, who can we get? And you're watching it, you're like, oh, that's
Sean Penn for a bird that doesn't talk.
Exactly. But like in this, like Louis C.K. was well utilized, Eric Stone Street, Kevin Hart. Everyone was like cast perfectly. Jenny Slate, who's like I think the voice acting MVP of this year or something, and like they're all well cast. So I think as much as Illumination feels like the big stupid studio right now, they did a really good big stupid studio animated movie with Secret Life of Pets. So
I like to too. What do you think about it, Tony?
I actually like this movie. I actually think it's one of the more underrated movies of 2016, to be honest. Like, I do understand people's criticisms would be like a Toy Story kind of ripoff, but I mean, there's going to be a lot of movies where they kind of borrow elements from other movies. It's just a matter of how they present the story, how it's executed. And in my opinion, I thought Secret Life of Pets was very well executed. I thought it was very fun. It was very funny. I know me and the other people at the screening were actually laughing very hard at a lot of the moments in the movie. So everyone seemed like they really were having a good time watching it. And I just really love the characters, like the cute personalities of the characters and how accurate they are to how a dog can react or how a cat can react. Because there were some moments in the movie where I'm like, oh yeah, that's my dog right there. And then I
did like that they had lots of different kinds of pets. I thought that was kind of cool. And my favorite was Gidget and Chloe, the cats. I thought Gidget was the little dog, and then Chloe the cat. I thought were fun.
Those were two of my favorites as well.
And the cat was just so mean, but that's like the personality of some of the cats I've seen.
And I guess I like weird surrealist things in animated films that don't make sense. And so I liked the weird hot dog scene.
The hot dog scene. I forgot about the hot dog scene.
It was a little preview of Sausage Party.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
So the chat room is very down for the most part on Secret Life of Pets. They didn't I guess really like it. So, but oh well. I don't think. Well, I guess maybe they did because Illumination just seems to be able to print their own money. But no matter what they put out, but it made more money than Batman v Superman, and that has to
hurt. I don't think anyone's gonna get upset about it. Unless Ben Affleck's in the chat, but he might.
That was a lot of money. Okay, so moving on. Next, we talk about a definitely worse film. We're talking about Ice Age Collision Course is next. This is the fifth Ice Age movie. This got 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, but believe it or not, it made $407 million worldwide.
Yeah, but how much did it make here? I don't
not very much.
I think it made $17 million here.
Yeah. People out. What is wrong with the world? Why do they like these movies so much?
I've actually I haven't seen one, or if I have, it's been forever since
I could be wrong, but I hear the reason they keep making these movies is because of like I think Russia or China, like one of those countries is like eating up these movies. That's why they keep making them. Apparently, I could be wrong. That's just what I keep hearing, at least.
That's what.
So someone in the chat room says 64 million in the U.S. 400. The Peanuts movie, which I loved, made 262 million worldwide. So that means Ice Age 5 made almost double the Peanuts movie made.
That's crazy. Yeah. I wish Peanuts had made more. That sucks. Oh.
I know. So yeah, it's like if you ever want to say why we can't have nice things, that is the reason.
Yeah.
There's really not a whole lot to say about this. I didn't think it was funny. A lot of the time the movie is spent just characters complaining about each other, and that's supposed to be funny. Like the sloth character complaining about his new son-in-law, and them complaining about his wife, and them complaining about each other. And then it was also really weird, the Manny character, who I guess he's the sloth, and the Ray Romano character is the woolly mammoth. Anyway, so the Manny character, or whatever, I forget all their names. Anyway, who cares? But one of the characters falls in love with the Heather Graham character in the Shangri-La place. And then it turns out she's like, there's like this fountain of youth thing. And so they get out of there and she becomes very old. And he's like, okay, bye. See you later. And I'm like, she's still the same person. Like, that was such a weird thing. And then she gets changed back into the pretty. And he's like, okay, I'm back. I'm in love with you again. I'm like, oh, that was weird. We fall in love with people. I know I'm way overthinking Ice Age 5, but just that was so strange that it's like, well, you're not beautiful and you're old now, so bye. Anyway, I don't know. So you saw Ice Age 5, Tony?
Unfortunately, yes. Okay, like I said when we talked about Northern North, I don't think this is as bad as Northern North, but oh my goodness, this movie was terrible. I couldn't believe it because I didn't hate the fourth one like everyone else. The fourth I was like on, and then I was hoping that would be the same way with this one where everyone hated it, but I'm just like on it. But no, they dropped the ball with this. This is the worst in the franchise. This is one of the worst movies of the year. It's like all pretty much the good things you need for an animated movie, they're barely present in this movie. Like the animation is really nice. I still really like the animation, and I laughed at maybe 2 jokes, but the movie was really boring. The whole meteor prophecy was just so weird. And everything you just said about this tub that makes you young, old, young, it was a mess. It was a complete disaster of a movie. And by the time I got out, I needed to lay down because I need to rest my head for what I just experienced.
And Neil deGrasse Tyson just needs to stop. He needs to stop accepting calls for every movie under the sun. Like Ice Age 5, I'm done with him. Like, he needs to stop. That's all I have to say. So, because it was really bad. His cameo was terrible. All right, let's move on. Okay, so the next movie is oh man, so many to talk about. The next movie is The Little Prince. And I have to be honest about this. I'm not as high on this movie as most people. I thought it was really boring. I thought it was preachy. I thought the characters were very sort of, I don't know, just like the mom was way over the top with this like list, this chart, and I just didn't bond with the little girl and her and the old man. And then it got weird, but I kind of thought it was weird in an interesting way because I like weird things with the whole work thing and like her finding the little prince at that work thing at the so that started to get to me actually interesting. And maybe it's just because I find that people who have read the book like it way more. So maybe that's just the problem is I've never read the book. But I don't know. It was pretty. It looked nice.
I mean, it was kind of a weird adaptation because they kept the Little Prince is just about the story he was telling. That's the book it's based on. The whole thing with the old man was made up for the movie. which is like a bizarre way to adapt a famous story. I don't know. I don't love it. I like the animation in it, but I think I like the animation in the Little Prince parts and found that better than the other plot of it. But I still like.
Yeah, that was nice in those parts.
I think I liked it more than you, but I don't think it was. I think I wanted it to be better than it was, but I enjoyed it at least. It was just a weird way to adapt. Like, hey, you have this famous story, and you're like, well, what if I changed it? And you're like, what? Why would you do that? Like,
changed it and made it more boring.
I mean, why change it in such a way? That's still the thing I'm confused about. It's a very.
I gave it a C+, so that is like just passing. I didn't like hate it, but I gave it a better grade than Angry Birds but I do think I don't think it deserves a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's a bit overrated.
But if anyone wants to see it, it's on Netflix. So
yeah,
you can watch it from there till Netflix is over or something.
Did you see Little Prince, Tony?
Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to see it yet, but I know it's on Netflix, like what Jim just said right now, right?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly worth seeing, like, and it certainly deserved a theatrical release. Like, that was just a mess, stupid Paramount. But
it got in a few theaters in
Canada, I think.
It got released in Canada, like a good release. In New York, it was like one, and the showtimes are all weird. So I
probably just
saw it on Netflix.
Oh, okay. All right. So moving on then. Man, there's so many. So then the next one was Sausage Party, which I did not see. So
did you not get to it, or?
No, I just don't see that kind of hard R-rated content.
Oh, okay. I mean,
I chose not to see it.
If for anything to be I think it was funny, but the thing that I've been taking away from Sausage Party, and I don't think we're probably going to talk about. Well, I don't know if you're going to talk about Killing Joke, but what Sausage Party and Killing Joke and sort of Nerdland did as well is selling a mainstream audience a more mature animated film and a different kind of animated, which is good for animation because we are kind of stuck in appealing to just one audience and things like that. And Sausage Party being a hit, and when I saw it, there are people who look. I go to every animated theatrical release I can. And those kind of people do not go. Who I saw at Sausage Party do not go to Boy and the Beast and all that. So I think it was a triumph in that, but. When I heard Nerdland got bought by Screen Gems, I thought, okay, they'll give it a decent release. And it got like a Fathom Events thing one night, even though that's by Titmouse, who does so many Adult Swim shows and are.
Yeah. I must say I haven't seen that one. I did see The Killing Joke, believe it or not. I didn't like it. I hated it, actually.
Killing Joke has a lot of. It's like that's another one they adapted in such a weird way and made it worse. Like they made the story that was already controversial even worse somehow. But the financial ramifications of those, that Killing Joke made enough that they were writing about it in Deadline Hollywood, and that they were saying, hey, all these people came out to a mature action animated film. It's good for animation and what they'll do, but I haven't yet seen anything being approved yet. But it does pave the way for a studio to go, maybe we will take a chance on that. So if anything, even though you didn't see Sausage Party, it's good for the medium. I think Sausage Party was a little funny. It's a little controversial, but I laughed at certain parts,
Yeah, I'm thrilled for it for the medium. It pushed the edge. I mean, I'll see R-rated movies. I do quite a bit, but it pushed in. I felt like it was too much, so I decided not to see it. But I don't know. Tony, what do you think of Sausage Party?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I had a really fun time with Sausage Party. Oh boy, I'm just gonna say this: do not take your kids to this movie. Do not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Sausage Party. I actually thought was a very funny movie. I was laughing a lot, but also was kind of poking fun of it basically took a jab at every religious person as possible. Like with the difference of like the mustard or the hot dog or the buns, which kind of surprised me. It was kind of like Zootopia in a way, where they kind of had their own thought-provoking message at the same time. And there's even this musical number in the beginning where they're basically kind of making fun of Disney, and I heard even the guy that writes the Disney songs wrote this one. So I say if anything, Rachel, even if you don't see the movie, look up the musical number "The Great Beyond."
Yeah, no, it's Alan Menken wrote the songs for Sausage Party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but this movie actually did make me laugh. It was just really entertaining. I never thought it was slow. I thought the voice cast did a very great job, and the ending scene. There are some things you can never unsee in a movie, and that ending is one. And that ending is one of them.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the good food fight, but with really writing that R-rated line. I'll put it that way. But anyway, moving on.
Okay. All right. Real quick, I just want to mention, since I don't think either of you have seen it, just mention Phantom Boy. This was by directors of A Cat in Paris, Jean-Louis Filicoli and Alain Gagnol. And it's not as good as Cat in Paris, but I did feel like it was a beautiful story about a boy who gets to sort of escape from his body every day. He's in a hospital. He in his spirit kind of escapes from his body. He's phantom, and he goes out and he helps this detective who's also in the hospital to solve this crime. And there's this bad guy named No Face who's pretty fun, and it had a nice heart to it. It was beautifully animated. It kind of had a cubist kind of style to it, and so if you like A Cat in Paris. It's definitely. I bet you it'll be on Netflix. It's worth checking out if you get a chance. And it was just nice to see something that was sort of superhero-ish, but it was like its own story. It's not part of a cinematic universe, and I don't know. So I liked it. I think it's worth seeing if you get a chance. So yeah, we're gonna power through a whole bunch of indies real quick. Okay. So I talked about Phantom Boy. Next, we're gonna talk about Long Way North. Long Way North, I thought that it was beautiful. I love the animation. It's really cool how it works in like color blocking. And so they specifically didn't have any lines to everything. So it's just like her skirt will just be like one block. And it doesn't have, not only does not have any lines, but it's sort of fuzzy on the edges. And of course it's 2D. And I actually got the chance to interview the director, Remy Chaillet, for Rotoscopers, and that was so cool to hear about their process. And she's a cool character. Sasha, the lead character, really liked her. And it kind of, the ending I thought surprised me. I think they spent a little bit too much time on the boat, kind of getting there, and some of the story could be a little better. But I liked that she's a diva. You know, they don't completely kind of make her this strong woman right away. Like she kind of has to learn, and it was a good movie that if you get a chance to see, I recommend checking it out. And I know you saw it, Jim. What do you think of it?
Oh, I like Long Way North a lot. I think I prefer to. It sort of reminds me a little of April in the Extraordinary World in that it very much is kind of a Hergé type adventure. But the good thing about this one is what I was complaining about with April, what I like about Long Way North is you see her build and become this stronger female character throughout the film. There's a lot of great character development. And it does an adventure that's real. Like I don't think it's a real story, but I think it's based on some stuff. I forget exactly, but
it's based on like Shackleton and some of those other things.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's like based on stuff, but it's more of a realistic adventure thing. And I thought that was cool. I think it's actually a really good film for young girls to see. I mean, within a certain age and all that. But I think it was a really cool adventure movie in this time, the type that Hollywood doesn't make that type of adventure film.
Yeah, because she starts out as this sort of diva. And the transition is pretty subtle, you know, like first she doesn't even want to eat the peasant food where she's at, and it seems gross to her, and she has to learn how to clean and learn how to cook and learn how to, you know, all that stuff. And I like that. I thought that was good. I agree. And so yeah, it's people always say, oh, 2D animation is dead. That's just 2D animation at Disney and DreamWorks and people like that. There's lots of great 2D animation out there if you dig. We've already talked about a number here, even just on this.
Long Way North, a good example because the character designs are interesting. It's more like but anyway,
I agree. Okay, next one, another indie is Miss Hokusai. This was based on a graphic novel, and it is about this real life person. It's an anime about this woman in the 1600s, Tokyo, I believe, and her father is the famous. There's that painting of the wave.
Yeah.
And it's a very famous painting. And so she's trying to learn to be a painter, and the movie is basically a bunch of little vignettes of her life. And I really liked a section about her and her sister who's blind, and like it's hard for her dad to sort of accept being an artist. It's hard for him to accept having a blind daughter, and I really thought that was nice. And the only thing that I had problems with in this movie is I did feel, even though I'd been to Japan and I feel like I know more than the average person about Japan, there were parts that I felt I didn't understand culturally. Like at one point she kisses a woman, and I didn't know how much that was supposed to mean, if that was what was going on. And I didn't have a problem with her kissing, but like I just confused about what it meant in the story. Or like certain parts in the brothel and the harem, whatever they call it over there, the geisha house, that I was like, I don't understand if we're supposed to be, if this is a good thing or a sad thing, so I was just a little culturally, I felt like I needed a little more context sometimes. I don't know. What do you think about Miss Hokusai?
I enjoyed it, but I think it is kind of much like Takahata's My Neighbor the Yamadas. It's like a bunch of little stories combined. Yeah. And My Neighbor the Yamadas did that. Takahata did a bunch of films like that.
Only Yesterday is that way.
Yesterday, there's one, and now I'm forgetting it, but Shade of the Brat that does that also, that are based on manga and then made into animated films. And this one, it just felt like there's certain things where her and her father were doing the thing with spirits and paintings that was really interesting. And then other stories that it was like, I don't know if this works, and there didn't seem to be much of a balance to it. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was interesting, but I don't think it was amazing or anything. I was just kind of cool with it.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right. Let's keep moving on. All right. So, and it was beautifully animated. And it was really cool how you dived into the painting. Sometimes that was sort of fun.
Oh,
so,
yeah. That was cool.
All right. So let's talk about Kubo and the Two Strings. And I loved this film. And I admit that I can see that it does have some problems, but like there were not problems that bothered me. I think what's the key for me about Kubo is I just loved him as a character so much, and every time he would smile, it made my heart happy. And I don't know, I felt like they could have done almost anything because I just bonded with that character right away so much, and it was so beautiful. And just the way they use paper and the way they use, it was so pretty. And I just really enjoyed it. I've seen it a couple times now, and I have it on Blu-ray, and I liked it a lot. So I don't know. What do you think, Tony, about Kubo?
Well, judging from the character posters I have behind here, I clearly did not like this movie at all. But I honestly really, really love this movie. Like, this is so far my favorite animated movie of the year. There's still a couple more animated movies I have to see, so I don't know if there will be any that will top this. But for now, this is like my number one right here. This movie absolutely blew me away. And even though I was already excited for this movie, when I came out of it, I got more than what I was actually expecting from the film, which, that was a surprise to me. I just thought animation, like, oh my goodness, the stop motion, the character designs, the background, everything, the attention to details is just so impressive in this film. My jaw even dropped a couple of times because of just how breathtaking the movie looks. And then, the characters, just the focus of these three characters, like with Kubo and Monkey and Beetle, just following those three characters for the majority of the movie, they just added so much personality to them. And there was actually I was actually surprised with how much humor there was in the film, because even though it did have its moments of being dramatic, there was actually a great balance of adding a lot of humor, particularly with Beetle, voiced by Matthew McConaughey. He's probably my favorite character because he added like so much comedy to the film, but there's also heart to the Beetle character that I actually really like that the movie added. And then, where the storyline was going from the end, and then, the messages, I feel like as far as animation goes, you know, all the ingredients you need for a really great animated film was all present here. And Kubo and the Two Strings, like, I can't stress enough of how much I love this movie. It's just plain terrific for me.
Yeah, it was beautiful. If I had any flaw with it is I thought that if they had just ended it just about 5 minutes earlier, because what they do with the grandpa is a little weird, and some of their stuff is like, oh, if you'd had the guts to like end it on a more bittersweet kind of ending with him sort of having to deal with this tragedy, I think it would have been better. But I just loved it. I really did. I don't know. What do you think, Jim?
I enjoyed it. I think the story was a little too close to like the typical kind of blueprint of the hero's tale, but I really love the animation. I think it's maybe like his best, flat out on a technical animation level, best film they've made. Just some of the like that scene where it goes underwater and there's that eye thing was just like I can't. Some of the animation is just so amazing. I didn't love the twists at the end with the. I don't want to give anything away, but with the monkey and beetle and stuff, we were a little like made me go like really.
Yeah, that was predictable.
It was pretty obvious, so it wasn't. Really
I didn't love that, but I know this is getting a better reputation since it came out and is doing well awards wise, and I think it's because the animation just shows the greatness that like it can do. And I think just for literally just for the animation, I think this is one of the animated films you should see this year, just because the animation was just I haven't seen stop motion like this ever in my life. It was just very beautiful.
Yeah, me either. I mean, it certainly deserved to make more than $69 million. That worldwide, $69 million. That just depresses me.
I was so surprised because anytime I went to the theater, kids were freaking out over the posters and stuff. And maybe that's just where I am and stuff. But I thought it would do better. And it is, I don't know. I wish it had done better because I think it's a beautiful film to see on the big screen. If they're ever playing it again, which doesn't sound like they're going to, but if they are ever playing it on the big screen, go see it because it's just visually a treat, really. Yeah.
All right. So the next film we want to talk about, man, we still got a few more. So the next one we're going to talk about is Storks. So I thought this was better than 63% on Rotten Tomatoes. I was entertained by it. I thought that a lot of the jokes worked, made me laugh, and I liked. Again, it has sort of an adoption message, which I kind of liked. I guess I'm a sucker for that. And I thought the babies were so cute. I was just like, oh, they're so... And I love that montage at the end with all the couples and their babies. And like, oh, it's so cute. And so, I don't know. It's not a masterpiece, but I enjoyed it. I don't know. What do you think of... Jim, what do you think of Storks?
I didn't really like it.
You didn't like
much.
it?
I didn't like it that much. It's kind of like, just to me, the Warner Brothers style, but not like Looney Tunes by that. I mean, it didn't entirely work. And I was a little confused by like doing that tradition of storks, and like they weren't really saying anything with using that. So I was a little confused about why do it entirely. But you know, it was fine. I think with Warner Brothers animation, I'm more into the Lego stuff and less into, this was always the question, what is the stuff they're doing that's not Lego? And they were like, storks. And I was like, I'm good. Was kind of the...
Yeah, someone in the chat room just said it bombed. I wouldn't say that. It had a $70 million budget and it made 178. So it didn't bomb.
Oh, yeah. No, it didn't bomb. You know.
But anyway, Tony, what do you think of Storks?
I have a rather weird opinion on this movie. Okay, here's the thing. When this movie focuses on the heart, they get the heartwarming stuff right, and I'm buying into the movie. With the humor, however, that's where the movie loses me. Because, don't get me wrong, there are some moments where I did laugh, particularly with those wolves, both voiced by Key and Peele. They were only in a couple of scenes, unfortunately. I would like to see more of them. But those couple of scenes with them had me dying of laughter. And there were other moments where I did laugh, but for the most part, the humor was falling flat for me. Luckily, I guess the storyline was well-written enough to where... the humor didn't totally take me out, but
especially that little toad pigeon, whatever he wasn't good.
Oh, that's who I was about to bring up too. Like, I was annoyed in certain aspects of this film, but that one pigeon character, my goodness, every time the movie cuts to him, I'm like, no, go back to the stork, go back to that girl, the stork and the girl, because at least I was enjoying that part of the story more than that toad pigeon character. And also for the first 30 minutes, I was really annoyed by that female character. Her name just slipped my mind right now, but it wasn't until after the first 30 minutes where I wasn't annoyed by her anymore, and I actually started to care about her. And then I didn't really care too much about the plot with Kelsey Grammer's character, you know, where he plays Andy Samberg's boss. That plot I didn't really care too much for. But there was some nice heartwarming things in this film. I did actually love the montage at the end. I would probably say that's my favorite thing about the Storks, is like maybe like the last 10 minutes of the movie. But yeah, when it comes to the heart, it's great. When it comes to the humor, not so much. But I'll say overall, it's an okay animated film. It's a film I watch, and I'm not going to really rewatch again, but it was okay to me.
Yeah, I think that that's probably fair. You know, it's not one that I will be rushing out to get on Blu-ray, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Okay, so let's keep going. So the next movie is The Wildlife. This movie is, people are saying it's worse than Norm of the North. I don't think so. I think it at least had like a story, and it had a few nice portions of animation. I still give it a D. Like, it's not a good movie, but I didn't think it was unwatchable. I just didn't think it was as bad as Norm of the North. That's all I thought. I didn't think it was good, but I didn't think it was as bad. Basically,
you weren't questioning life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has these cat characters, though, that were probably the worst characters I saw in all of 2016. They're so weird, and it has probably the weirdest pregnancy I've ever seen in an animated film. So anyway, did either of you see that, Wildlife?
No, I didn't see that one.
I haven't, but now I want to. Just for the pregnancy scene, I have to watch it.
It was so weird. It was so weird. This cat. Anyway, okay, so definitely let's move on. So next we'll talk about Trolls.
Oh, yes.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Should I start?
Yeah, you go ahead. You start.
I really didn't like Trolls at all. I believe I called it fascist. But the problem with Trolls was I think what you were saying earlier about Angry Birds, and it was this idea of just everyone has to be happy. And I'm like, I hope everybody's happy. I'm not against that. But it's just like this whole, like, very much like, oh, they're miserable and we're happy. And this kind of very one-dimensional thing. And it kind of upset me because I know this film's kind of more for kids. And it's kind of very limited view of explaining emotions to people just really rubbed me the wrong way. And I actually don't think it's very good movie for kids. I think maybe it's also irritating, but that's beyond the point. But like moralistically, I think it's actually like a troubling film because it's very like you should be this way and no other way. And I really didn't like that. And I thought it was a step down for DreamWorks animation wise, and they just and it had that Justin Timberlake song we're all sick of. So just not many good things about it. I guess I liked when it was over. That was it.
So I didn't hate it as much as you did, but I totally get it. It definitely has, you would describe it as a fascist metaphor.
Yeah, I did. It is, though. It is.
In your review, because I've seen it twice because I went on the Rotoscopers show for this, and so I wanted to, see twice and for my opinion, and I liked it a little better the second time, and I did enjoy it overall. I thought it was fine, but I thought it was really uneven to me. It was very, like, for every moment I'd like, for a song that I'd like, then there would be a song I didn't like. And then for a thing I'd like, a character I'd like, then there would be a character I didn't like. And so to me, it was very up and down, up and down, up and down. And I thought that some of the animation was really cool with this sort of Lisa Frank felt kind of aesthetic. Yeah. But then other parts looked really cheap to me. And like there's a scene in the castle where there's like a alligator kind of creature or whatever, and that chases them, and it looked like something out of like a Tinkerbell movie or something direct to DVD. Like it looked really poorly rendered, and so there were scenes like that I was like, whoa. they just didn't try on that. But then other parts where I was like, wow, they really tried to make something bright and colorful and beautiful, and most of the music didn't really work for me. But I actually am not sick of that song, just because for some reason I have the ability to not get sick of things the way other people do, and I think it's pretty catchy. And I think that on the second, there's one scene where Poppy tells Branch that, you know, you just need to be happier or something, and Branch says, how can you be happy all the time? And Poppy tells him, I know that there are bad things out there, but I choose to believe that most of the time most of the time people are good and that things are good. And I was like, you know what, that's really true. Like, I am also a realist, but I'm also try to be happy and try to be positive. So that like kind of tempered the message a little bit for me. Like, so they were saying, I know that bad things are out there and that people can be bad and make bad choices and that anger is real, but I choose to be positive. So I don't know. I guess that's where I came out on it. But the thing I didn't like the most about it was I did not like the Bergens and how they were designed, and especially the I think Bridget was her name, that character voiced by Zoe Deschanel.
I think it's Bridget. Yeah. Yeah,
it became like a whole sort of Cyrano de Bergerac kind of teaching her My Fair Lady kind of thing, teaching her like the trolls. I didn't like that at all, really. And so for me, it was a mixed bag. But I don't know. What do you think, Tony, of Trolls?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with you. I think it's a mixed bag of a movie. Like, I didn't hate watching through it. Like, it wasn't absolute torture like Norman the North or Ice Age Collision Course. But, you know, it's not like one of the more memorable animated films. And I'm a huge DreamWorks fan, and this is not exactly one of my favorites from DreamWorks. I probably do like it slightly better than Home, because I really did not care that much for Home. And I
didn't like Home.
And I was a little more annoyed with Home. Trolls, I was annoyed, but not as much as Home, so that's probably why I would take this over that movie.
Yeah.
But, as far as good things, I do think the animation is very colorful. It's very bright. It's pure eye candy to look at. So I thought it was very nice, and I did like most of the songs. There's like maybe one I didn't like, but most of the others I didn't really mind. Can't Stop the Feeling, that song has been stuck in my head, and it still is stuck in my head. So thank you, DreamWorks, for making such a catchy song. So yeah, it does have a catchy song, and I did like the characters of Poppy and Branch, right? Justin Timberlake's character, I believe it's Branch. Yeah, I really did like following their story, but man, when we get to the Bergens, that's where I feel like we get to the more weaker moments of the film. And then this whole romantic subplot with the Bergen King and the Bergen girl that Zooey Deschanel plays, that there was no need for that romantic subplot. That was just too weird. It was awkward. I didn't find it that funny, to be honest. And then the climax was kind of rushed too. I mean, it was kind of cool that they used Can't Stop the Feeling in the climax, but I thought the scene in itself and how it wrapped it to the ending, I'm like, okay, that's basically your movie right there. So it has its ups, it has its downs. Overall, I just felt very meh towards the movie. Like, at least it had a positive message for the kids. I could definitely say that.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like we're actually probably kind of on the same page when it comes to Trolls. All right, so the next film I want to talk about real quick is another anime. It's Your Name, and this thing has gotten tons of buzz. It's made huge money over in Japan and China, $276 million already, which is crazy. And it deserves it because it's awesome. I love this movie. It is beautiful. And I think what it does is it draws you into these two characters by being really kind of light and fun for the first 20 minutes. And then it takes it to this deeper place, but you're attached to these characters because you've been having some fun with them, that like it really works. And I thought it was such an original story. I thought it was so beautifully animated, the way they used light and color and the way that these two characters kind of learned about each other. And I thought the twist just completely worked. And it's one of my favorite movies of the year. I loved Your Name so much. So I don't know, Jim, what do you think of Your Name?
I liked it. I especially like all the teen stuff as a teen movie because we don't really get a lot of good ones. Although I didn't see Age of 17, but it was actually one I really liked. The other part of it, which not giving anything away, really has a lot to do with the what's called the 3/11 earthquake in Japan, and or that's what the director said the metaphor was and such. But I liked it. I like those parts. I think I like the first half more. But in terms of also, I haven't seen a really good body swap movie that's as good as Your Name, and I think it really got more of like the realistic things you'd probably do if you switch bodies.
Yeah.
Someone of the opposite gender like that, which was kind of, it might sound like I'm being like perverted or something, but I think there were a lot of things. It was like, I think that's semi-natural. It was, but they did it in a very funny way. It wasn't, nothing gross or anything. I think it has a good heart on its shoulders and everything. I can kind of understand why it became so popular. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, what was really cool is that they switch off every day, which most of the time body swap comedies, it's like they're there for a long time. And so they leave each other notes on their phones and on their things, and they start to become friends. It's really a movie about friendship and how through these sort of notes and through sort of living each other's lives. And I really thought they captured well sort of the experience of, say you go to a party and you only know say you know the person who's throwing the party, but you don't know anybody else at the party, and you're kind of there with their friends. And they're nice people. It's not like, but they're just not your friends, and so it feels sort of weird. And that's kind of how I felt like captured that really well. Of like, you're like the sort of feeling of like your friends are weird. I don't know if I like your friends.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought the script was so creative. I didn't have any idea where it was going. It was very original, and I just loved the characters. I was really rooting for them, and I don't know, just beautiful. So definitely keep her out for Your Name. It's great. Okay, moving on. So the next one we'll talk about is Moana. This is directed by Ron Clements, John Musker, and I love this movie. Like you can never completely separate yourself from your movie-going experience. Like, and I have a love for Polynesia and for Hawaii. And I love the ocean. I love swimming in the ocean. I love being in the ocean. And I love Lin-Manuel Miranda and Hamilton. And so all these elements that were going in, and Little Mermaid is one of my favorite movies ever. So Ron Clements, John Musker, like all these elements that were in this movie, I felt like it was made for me. And I came out of it just like glowing. I was so happy. And I know not everybody responded to it as much as me, but it just hit all of my notes. I loved the songs. I loved her story. I loved how she was going out to serve her people. Like, she wasn't just a rebellious girl like Ariel was, who I love, by the way. But she was going out to serve and also, to grow and learn. And I just loved Maui, and I loved the 2D elements, and I loved You're Welcome, and I loved Shiny, and I loved that stupid crab, and I loved the little chicken was hilarious, and it just all worked for me. I've seen it 3 times now, and I love it. And so anyway, what do you think of Moana, Tony?
Oh man, I feel very bad now because
that's okay. Go for it.
I'm gonna be honest. This movie honestly underwhelmed me.
Okay.
Like, I expected so much more out of this film because I was really, like, ever since last year, I was like, yes, Moana. I can't wait to see this film. And then I came out going, it was okay and all. Like, I did really like most of the songs. The animation is beautiful, some of Disney's best work. But I came out of that, I expected so much more out of the movie. I thought the adventure, I feel like there could have been more to the adventure because I thought maybe they were going to travel island by island with Moana and Maui, and there wasn't really all that much traveling. And the adventure in itself, I actually found myself quite bored watching. Like, I just felt like there wasn't as much to the adventure as there could have. And that this might be an unpopular opinion, but that scene with the crab, I thought that was tonally out of place with the rest of the movie. Because whereas Moana had this more calm tone, once it gets to a crab, it's like it goes from being so somber to I'm cooking, it's shiny, I'm cooking. I'm going like, what the heck is this? So that scene really did not work for me, and the song "Shiny," I didn't care for that one either, and also Maui, I did really love "You're Welcome." Like that's one of my favorite songs. I can't get that song out of my head, even as we're talking about this movie right now. And The Rock's performance is very energetic. He had so much charisma. But the character, Maui, I could not get into him until once he revealed a backstory, which isn't until like the third act. That's when I started to feel for him. But before that, I was actually getting quite irritated by Maui. And, you know, the way he would treat Moana throughout the film, I'm all like, really, man? What has Moana ever done to you? So... And then the climax, I do appreciate what Disney tried to do with the climax. They're trying to set up for something heartwarming, but it felt like a cop-out to me with the direction that they went with that climax. So overall, I think Moana is an okay film, and I know a lot of people are loving it, and more power to those that do, but for me, I'm not going to lie, I was pretty disappointed by this film.
How dare you? No, that's fine. I get it. That's fine. I also thought it had a bit of sort of an Odyssey feel to it, you know, where like she's on this journey and she meets the coconuts. She's just like with the Odyssey, when he meets, like, he'll meet Medusa and he'll meet the next, you know, obstacle and the next and the next. I kind of liked that, and so yeah, it just like I said, it ticked all my boxes. But what did you think, Jim?
I'll have to go right after this because it's getting a little late for me. But
yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. I like Moana. I don't think it's like the best of this era, but I still liked it a lot. I like the Shiny song. It sounded like a Flight of the Conchords song to me, despite being written by Lin-Manuel Miranda and not Flight of the Conchords, although it's sung by one of the Flight of the Conchords. And I liked the Rock a lot. I thought he did a great performance. I liked the Fury Road reference with the little, what is it, like coconut shell guys or whatever.
Yeah.
And I like the spirit to it, and I like the message of it. And it's still a really strong movie. I think it's probably going to get overshadowed by Zootopia a lot. I don't know if I'm as passionate about it as Zootopia, but I still think it's a really great entry in the Disney catalog, and I think it's I still liked it a lot. I just am not personally as passionate. I didn't like it as much as Hamilton at all, and I do really like Hamilton a lot. But I still think it was a great it's still a very good Disney movie. It kind of got similar to the Inside Out Good Dinosaur thing, but not as much, because I noticed people are really passionate about it. I don't share that, I guess, but I still enjoy it, and I actually plan on seeing it again at some point.
It's not as good as Inside Out, but I don't. Inside Out.
Or I mean, as Zootopia or anything. But anyway,
okay.
I need to go. But thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, it's perfect because Sing's the only one left, and Tony and I have seen that. So where can people find you?
I'm on YouTube under my name, Jim Gisriel, and you can watch all my reviews there. And I'm on Twitter and Tumblr under the same name, so just find me there.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, and everyone check out Rachel's channel, and I don't know Tony's channel, but it sounds like it's pretty good. But also I'll check it out afterwards. But you should check their stuff out, and I hope you guys have a good 2017 or rest of 2017.
Yeah, you too.
All right, cool. Have
a good night, Jim.
Bye.
Right, bye.
Okay, so Tony, let's talk about Sing real quick. Yeah, sorry this has gone on a little longer than we just had so many to cover. So Sing. What did you think about Sing?
I actually really enjoyed Sing. I did really like the fact that we follow more than one character. Like, I actually really like the, without getting into too much details, because I know the movie isn't out yet, but the way the first 10 minutes would be cutting to the character introductions, I was like, hey, that's actually a pretty cool way to introduce all these characters in just the first 10 minutes. And then once we do get to see all these characters, it's kind of cool to follow them because even though they're competing in the singing competition, each of them have their different reasons for why they're doing this whole singing competition. So in a way, it's like this big character-driven story. Like I felt it was more about the characters than it was about the singing in a way. Of course, when the singing's there, it's a lot of fun and all that, but I think what did really make me like seeing was just the characters themselves and the animation by Illumination. You know, just like with Illumination, it's very colorful, it's very bright, and I actually did really like the koala voiced by Matthew McConaughey. There was a lot of heart to his character, and you could tell that he actually did care about the competitors. So I just thought it had a very nice storyline to each of these characters, and it's a film that honestly put a smile on my face when I walked out of the screening.
Yeah, you know what, I had the same. I had very low expectations going into it. The trailers I thought were really bad, and the core story is very played out. You know, the save the farm, save the school, save the thing. But I don't mind a played out story if it's executed well, as I said before. And I actually think they executed it pretty well here. I particularly liked the way that they had these contestants who, yeah, we'll definitely won't be. We know most people haven't seen this, so we won't be spoilers. Don't worry. But they had all these contestants that were, it could have been easy to do them like all be sort of teenagers or all be kind of, but they were a wide array of, obviously they're animals, but a wide array of different types of characters, which I liked. And once you get past the, because they say that this has like 85 songs in it, but most of those are extremely brief, like very, very short. And once you get past the audition phase, you get to this core group of people. And actually, I thought they were pretty good. And I really liked Rosita was my favorite. Because,
oh yeah, mine too.
Yeah, because I think that when you have a character, like it's such a unique experience for kids to be able to see a housewife character, a frazzled housewife, and I can just imagine that a child would see her character and be like, let me think about my mom maybe a little bit, or other people in my life that might be a little bit frazzled or taking care of me. Like that's sort of an interesting thing. And I thought they did it really well, and I just liked her character arc. And I thought that the songs, when you got a whole song, were really good, actually. I thought they were well sung, and there were enough like original songs mixed in there. And like I liked the Scarlett Johansson character, her Ash, I think her name is. I liked her song. Yeah. And you have the mouse singing All the Way, and that was really good. And you have Don't You Worry About a Thing. I liked the elephant who has all this talent, but she's too scared to like perform. And that's such like a thing you can relate to if you've ever had to perform. It's like, you have it in you, but you have a hard time expressing it.
You're just too shy to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. What do you like about the characters? Or
I just really liked how different each of the characters are. Like, for one, like what you said, the elephant, that's something I'm sure a lot of people can relate to because, we've gone in that phase in our lives where we're too shy to do something, but then once we actually do it, we seem to overcome that shyness. So I really like following her storyline. And then the gorilla voiced by Taron Egerton, I really like following his story because, his father and his other team, they're criminals, and obviously he wants to get past the criminal life. So to see him enter in this singing competition, to hopefully get all that criminal life that he doesn't want, I actually really enjoyed following that. And then the underappreciated mom, I really love Rosita because of just how bubbly and just that bubbly personality that she has. And I think that's why it's great that they got Reese Witherspoon to voice her, because Reese Witherspoon does have that bubbly personality that fits that character well. And you want her to succeed because you don't want her to just be the mom that looks after the kids and the dad and that's all she has going in life. Like she actually goes out there and, it's kind of inspiration of moms out there when you really think about that. So that's why I like that part of the storyline. And then Ash, I'm not going to spoil anything, but out of everything, after everything she does go through, she doesn't give up on what she believes in. So it just has all these arcs, and I think that's what makes each arc stand out. Like, I think I appreciate each arc equally because of how different each character arc is in this film. And like what you said, it's just a very well executed movie.
I think so too. I mean, the only flaw, the big problem that I have with this movie, and maybe this is a nitpick, but I didn't like in this day and age with the racial tensions and stuff that we have, I thought it was in poor taste that they made all of the gang members, because they're all dark skinned animals and gorillas, and then they have the other gang, which is brown bears. And I'm just like I much prefer in Secret Life of Pets the way that they've got I didn't like the gang scenes very much as far as just story, but I liked how the gang was assembled of like a bunny and a pig and a alligator, and you've got all these different things, and I think that they should have done something like that, because it just was like it's just, I don't know, that it might, like I said, might be a nitpick, but it just bothered me a little bit.
So, like, say for example, instead of it being all gorilla, one could be a gorilla, the other one could be a tiger. Which, by the way, how come there's no tigers in this film?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, something like that. Like, you have a pig, you have a just so they're not all black. Like, it was just kind of like, oh, I don't know.
I understand that.
But that was not a deal breaker for me. I was still able to enjoy the film, and I walked away. I always say the secret to happiness in life is low expectations, and that was definitely true with me with this. I had very low expectations, and so I walked away pleasantly surprised.
Nice.
So there you go. All right, one last one that I'm just going to mention real quick is called The Red Turtle, and this is directed by Michael Dudek de Wit. And it is a collaboration between Studio Ghibli and this Danish, I forget where he's from, animator. And it is gorgeous. I highly recommend watching this movie. It's a silent movie. There's no dialogue. It's about this man who is shipwrecked onto a desert island, and he tries to escape 3 times, but each time this red turtle breaks up his raft. And so he ends up back on the island, and they end up having this connection between the red turtle and him. And I won't spoil it for you, but it's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, the animation is stunning. And I mean, I'm just a sucker for the ocean in any way. But this is beautiful, and it's a beautiful story about fate and how sometimes whether it's God or the spirit or nature or whatever you want to believe in, but sometimes things outside of ourselves guide us and help us make the right choices is kind of the message of the story. And it was just a great movie. So that is everything. Holy cow. Oh, I'm exhausted.
We did it, Rachel.
We did it.
We did it. Pour Gatorade on me.
I should have asked Jim. I forgot. But so what would you say is your favorite? We all know Norm of the North is the least favorite, but what is your favorite of the year? What would you give the award to?
Like as far as animation?
Yeah, of the films we talked about.
Okay. There's been a lot that I've liked, loved, and then there's okay ones, a couple of bad ones, but out of all the ones, Kubo and the Two Strings is still like my best animated movie of the year.
Yeah, it's really good. Mine is Moana is my favorite, and partly, like I said, it's that personal connection that I have with the islands, and I just felt like they just captured that so well.
I did really like that about Moana is how they captured the Polynesian culture.
Yeah,
because it helped me learn more about that. So that's one thing I will say about the film. I did like seeing that.
Yeah. And but and then I'd say my ranking, I'd say Moana, and then Your Name, and then The Red Turtle, Zootopia, and Kubo. But oh my gosh, I love all 5 of those films so much. So
I really want to check out the Red. I really want to check out The Red Turtle because I didn't watch a trailer, but I did watch a couple of reviews, and I did even see the Google images, and I'm all like, oh yeah, I want to check out The Red Turtle soon.
It's so good. I was so impressed. It's so beautiful. It like you could put it on and just like do yoga to it. It's so peaceful.
That's what I heard. I heard it's a very relaxing movie.
Yeah, it is. It's very relaxing. Some people will probably think it's boring, but I didn't. So, all right. Well, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And so where can people find you?
Thank you very much for bringing me here, Rachel. It was a lot of fun doing this. And if you guys want to find my channel, it is 22 Tiger Dude, 22, and then Tiger Dude, the T is capital. And you can follow me on my Facebook page, my Twitter page, Instagram at 22 Tiger Dude, and Snapchat at Tiger Dude 222.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And you can find me at Smiling LDS Girl on all social media. And my blog is 54 Disney Reviews. And here on Rachel's Reviews on my channel. And I have all the information for Jim and Tony and me in the description. So check that out. And thank you so much to everybody in the chat room. We had a great discussion going on while we spoke, and that was really awesome. So thanks, and hope everybody continues to enjoy all these great films from 2016.